I'm not sure when this habit of mine started, but I'm almost certain it had to do with that game I'd always played in elementary. Firestarter. It was a cute little strategy-based game released for the Game Boy Color in the late 90s. The game took place in a sprawling metropolis whose denizens were rife with hedonism and sin. The city of devils, Ensville. It seemingly sprang forth from the earth itself and immediately began to grow unabated. Like ivy, the tendrils of Ensville reached outward in the form of suburbs and strip malls, choking away forests, draining lakes, and consuming the world. You were the servant to the Lord of Black Flames, Contito, whose sole objective is to burn the city to the ground. But you couldn't burn everything. You needed shelter. Thus, the game became endless. A trial of futility. The task, as large as it was, had been made more difficult, for the burnings never went unnoticed. Police would arrive on the scene first, who you had to evade. Then the firefighters would show up. And if you were smart, you'd send them to the opposite side of town with a false lead, so they couldn't save the building. Just like in real life, my addiction grew well past elementary, following me into junior high. Often, I would be caught by teachers at school playing it, much to their disapproval. I'd be sent home, where I'd get a strong lecture from my parents about the game. Needless to say, my addiction had caused expulsion from more than one school in my youth. I'd soon become an outcast. My devotion to the little game frightened others. I scribbled Cantito's sigil all around the school and neighborhood. I left sacrilegious offerings in the form of little matchstick men that I'd burnt. My obsession to get a new high score started to block out my real-world responsibilities. One more building, I told myself. One more Molotov, I said, while furiously gripping my handheld console. I shrugged off classes, and I'd spend nights glued to the tiny green pixelated screen, enthralled to know in which way I could make the city burn. In the corner of my room, I erected an altar to the god of black flames and prayed. Prayed for fire. Prayed for a purge to come to the city. The next day, I went to school. I sat in the lunch area all day playing my game. It was then I was approached by the school's security guard. No handheld electronics are allowed on the premises. He grabbed for the game, causing me to recoil. In my nervousness, I dropped it to the ground. I watched as its screen splintered into fragments. My heart skipped a beat. My beloved game, my life, had been brought into a violent end. I felt sudden rush, as if my feet were being lifted. A black curtain fell before my vision, causing my legs to give. It happened so fast that I didn't even feel myself hit the ground as I fainted. In the endless dark void that was sleep, I could hear Contito calling to me. He sent me visions of the man, forcing me to relive the moment my Game Boy was broken, over and over and over. It racked my mind with anger, which burned as greatly as any fire set in Ensville. In one final vision, I was shown a lone house, one which I was familiar with. Then Kentito spoke.
You know what to do.
I woke in my room with only the quiet ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway to accompany me. The altar sat in the opposite corner. I clasped my hands together and tried praying, but it was no use. The euphoria I had once felt so many times before was gone. There was an emptiness, where once my faith had been. I knew full well there was only one way to relieve my outrage. Quietly, I gathered all of the empty bottles and rags in the house. Then I filled them with the excess gas from our lawnmower and gently placed them into my backpack. In the dead of the night, I pedaled with the lighter in hand so that I might make right the injustice I suffered, so that I might appease the Lord of Black Flames. One more Molotov, I said. One more building. Even with my Game Boy gone, my habit never really changed.